Hello, I'm Austin, and today I want to talk about Alan Wake 2. I'm very timely. The game just came out in October. I'm sure everybody wants to talk about Alan Wake 2 right now. Okay, look, I don't care when this game came out. I played it now, I like it, so I want to talk about it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Alan Wake 2 is a sequel to Alan Wake. Just in case you didn't know what 2 meant at the end of a title. It features the return of the titular character, Alan Wake, and a new playable character in Saga Anderson, set in Bright Falls once again, with Alan free of the dark place where he was trapped for 13 years. The two must work together, defeat the Cult of the Tree, and Alan's evil doppelganger, Mr. Scratch. The story is good, as it generally is with Remedy games. They do good work, and I highly recommend their other games like Control and the first Alan Wake. Speaking of the first Alan Wake 2 is quite different from its predecessor. It's far more open to exploration and much more of a true horror experience. Resources and inventory space is limited, enemies are dangerous and can take you down quickly if you're not careful. The original Alan Wake is much more of an action thriller. It has horror elements, but it definitely isn't a full horror game. As a true horror lover, I really appreciate that Alan Wake 2 leans more into it. It's something I wanted from the game, and it really works. Alan Wake 2 honestly reminds me a lot of The Evil Within 2, even more than the original Alan Wake sometimes. They both share a similar design philosophy with open areas that encourage exploration. It's not something you see in a lot of horror games, which generally go for more claustrophobic environments instead of these more open ones. It really helps both of the games stand out, and honestly, this is just my excuse to gush about The Evil Within 2. It's a surprisingly good horror game, and it's very underrated. If you like Alan Wake 2, you really should go give it a try. I think you'll like it. But back to the topic at hand, Alan Wake 2 does a good job of adding some diversity to the gameplay by having 2 playable characters. Saga gets larger areas that focus more on investigations and solving the mystery, which makes sense since she is FBI and was sent to do exactly that. Her areas are larger, has you talking to multiple people and exploring the town of Bright Falls and its surrounding areas. Don't worry, Alan Wake fans. You do not need to drive the car in Alan Wake 2. It mostly serves as an automatic fast travel point. It will just take you from Bright Falls to Watery. You don't actually have to manually drive it. And if you've played the first Alan Wake, you know why that's a good thing. That driving was not good. Alan, on the other hand, has smaller areas to explore and is more combat focused. It follows him creating a story that allows him to escape the dark place. He does this by finding interesting locations, murder locations, and changing them by weaving different plot elements. It's a really fun mechanic that makes the most of his more limited exploration areas. You can explore the same scene 4 more times to see how it changes based on the plot elements. It really makes the most of him being a writer. Alan also gets the ability to absorb light from certain locations and transfer it to another location. The environment will change depending on if the light is on or off, so it's always worth trying to keep a charge of light with you to solve a puzzle or get some extra items. The combat is what you would expect if you're familiar with Alan Wake. You use your flashlight to break the Shadow's armor, and then you can damage the enemies with guns. It's an effective system that focuses more on fighting enemies one-on-one or in small groups that Alan Wake 2 sets up better than the original did. In the first Alan Wake, they would sometimes throw more enemies than the combat system could effectively manage, and it would get a bit annoying. The focus on fewer enemies fits the system better and works with it being more horror experience. The combat definitely isn't as good as something like Resident Evil 4 Remake, but I think it holds its own just fine and it doesn't detract from the game. Just know going in that this is more horror game combat. You're gonna have some clunky controls, it's kinda stiff, and the gunplay isn't as smooth as you would think for a third-person shooter, but that is by design, and the game works around it very well. I never felt overwhelmed or that it was terrible to control. I actually appreciate the tension it adds to combat. It makes each enemy a bit of a threat since you can't just demolish them or just quickly run away. They are faster than you and they will chase you down. You have to deal with them. It helps that you have plenty of weapons so the combat doesn't get stale. Everything from pistols to shotguns and crossbows. You have plenty of guns to work with. Alan also has the writing room. Here you can see your scene and adjust the plot element to see what will allow you to progress. You can also watch TV scenes you've collected, listen to songs on the radio, and check your map. Saga has a similar space where she handles investigations. You place clues on the board and piece together the different mysteries. She can also profile some people she meets to figure out what they may be hiding or their motives, especially since you can switch between the characters' different stories at certain safe rooms where you can also save your game. If you've played one character for a while, it isn't a bad idea to check the board or remind yourself what you should be focusing on when you switch. It's important to note that these mind places can be accessed at any time, but they are not safe spaces. Enemies can still get at you. Much like real life, make sure you check your surroundings before you start daydreaming. That psycho right outside your window, just waiting for your attention to lapse. Alan Wake 2 does a lot of really good things. I really love the work Remedy has been doing. Control was also a fantastic game that I recommend playing. You don't need to play it before Alan Wake 2, but it does help flesh out the world a bit as you learn more about the FBC or the Federal Bureau of Control. Absolutely not necessary, but Control is so good you should do it anyway. I don't really have any major complaints with Alan Wake 2. It's basically exactly what I wanted as someone who loved the first game. It isn't as action focused as Remedy games usually are. Don't go in expecting Control or even the first Alan Wake levels of action. It is a much slower paced game. That isn't a negative or a positive, it's just different. If you don't like true horror games, I can't say Alan Wake 2 will convince you. If you enjoy games like The Evil Within 2 and the Dead Space remake, then I think you'll find a lot to like here. The story is interesting, the exploration is rewarding, and the environments are incredible. It can get a little too slow at times, especially early on, but overall, I found the pacing to be good, with a little awkwardness around the character swapping. Personally, I'd have preferred them to handle that for me so I don't have to wonder about the best way to experience the story. It's just a bit odd and it doesn't really add anything for me. I can see the appeal of the mechanic. If you get stuck or just need a break from one character, you can swap over to another, give yourself a rest. However, I felt both of these characters are really compelling, and I never really needed a break from any of them. So I can understand the idea behind the mechanic, but it just doesn't do anything for me. I would have preferred the game do the swapping for me just so I don't have to worry about the best way to experience the story here. It doesn't do anything for me personally. Alan Wake 2 is pretty close to a perfect horror game. It's strange, dark, and dangerous around every corner. Despite that, the game has a charm to it that keeps it fun. It's definitely a true horror experience, but like all good horror, it offers plenty to laugh at and enjoy outside of the scares. So yeah, you should play Alan Wake 2. While you're at it, you should play other Remedy games like Control as well. Alan Wake 2 offers a fantastic horror experience. It is a big budget horror game with amazing visuals that have a twist that they mastered in Control. If you love big budget horror games, you are going to like Alan Wake 2. It is a phenomenal experience. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of Alan Wake 2 or Remedy in general in the comments below. If you can, please subscribe and leave a like because it will really help the channel and video out and I'd really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day and I'll see you later.
Martial arts master. It's me, your brother, Ilmo. I now recognize you, but Ilmo, why are you dressed like that? Deerfest is almost here, which means we're chopping the prices on all of our custom-designed Deerfest parade floats. Floats created by the award-winning team at Kalevala Knights Motorcycle Club, winners of the last year's trophy for Best Deerfest Float featuring an animal that is not deer. That very team. And you're gonna get a kick out of our latest float designs. We've done it all. Deerfest floats, restaurant floats, floats shaped like things we can't show on television. Our floats are the best way to impress your friends, propose to your partner, or throw shade at an office colleague. And we don't do just Deerfest. Our floats are a perfect gift for weddings, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, or your Scenaria. Our floats will punch up any special occasion. But why take our word for it? Let's hear it from one of our many, many happy customers.
I was at Deerfest last year. The floats were pretty good. One of them was a swan.
And that was the people liked it.
And there you have it. Award-winning floats now at reduced prices that will
Knock you off your feet! Order yours today.